Now, it's green. There you go. Good?
All right, we're live, Dr. Hew.
Do I repeat that, or does anybody hear it? What? Repeat it? All right. Welcome back to the Dr. Hew Show from Summersville, West Virginia. Remember, we're broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. We actually call this the Carburation Clinic because we talk about different facets of alternative fuel, gasoline, we understand everyone has a different preference when it comes to fuel. And so please like and share us on Facebook and YouTube, because that really helps out with letting others that may be thinking about converting or altering their engines before they make a mistake. And that's what I want to start off with today. I wanted to add a segment to the show. Basically, I don't know what to call it. We'll give it a good name later on, but it's basically debunking the internet junk. And there is one that, people will send us email all the time, questions. Can I do this? Can I do that? I heard this, I heard that. So this is one of those, if you heard it, don't listen to what's being said. So here's the question. Can I run my engine on propane or natural gas without a demand regulator? Which is gone again. All right, so a demand regulator is an engine regulator that's provided to deliver and meter fuel to the engine. And it's actually one of the most costly parts of the system, believe it or not. So the question is, can you run it without that? In other words, you'll see videos where someone will take straight gas pressure, hook it somehow into the carburetor, which anyone can do, and you can throttle the gas and the engine will run. It's a fact, the engine will run. As a matter of fact, a personal story, one time I lived on a hill and I was coming home with my Park Avenue, and on the way up the hill, the engine died. Well, cranked it and I realized I did not hear the fuel pump coming on when I turned the key. So, oh, great, no fuel pump, middle of the hill. So, walked up the hill. Next day, went in, got me a 20-pound cylinder, a grill regulator, ran the hose. By the way, don't do this at home. Trained professionals are doing this. Took the 20-pound cylinder, hooked it into the air intake of my car, started cranking it, cracking the valve, crank, started running, smoothed it out at idle, started giving it some gas, cranking the valve a little bit as it went up the hill, and drove all the way up the hill, got to the top of the hill, and then I was able to replace the fuel pump. And what was interesting about that is a few months later, I was telling my neighbor about it, and he says, you know what, I'm glad you told me about that. He said, I thought you were a loony bird, which, anyway, that's another story. He said, I saw you driving your car with a 20-pound grill bottle in your lap going to your house. He said, I wondered what you were up to, and that's what it was. I had the bottle in my lap as I was going up the hill. So yeah, you can, sure, stick it right in there. It will run an engine. Now, what's the problem? Why do I say no? Don't do it to your machine. I was throttling the fuel based on the load on the car. So obviously I cannot just turn on the gas, start it, let it run, and just leave it there. The gas needs to constantly be adjusted for the amount of load on the engine. If you feed a continuous supply of fuel into the carburetor, it will not change based on load. So with our system, with the demand regulator, we set it so that it's lean, so it's cool and clean and efficient. If you force feed fuel into a carburetor, it's going to be inherently rich. And so yeah, you'll be happy for a little while, you saved a few bucks, you run it, but then the valves get burned up. And that's a true story. So please do not hook fuel directly into a carburetor, it's not safe. Had a buddy of mine the other day that got injured with gasoline, feeding gasoline into a carburetor. Things happen, backfires, other things. So it's just right to do it the safe way. So anyway, that's that. I'll get off my soapbox, whatever they call that thing. And so we really want you to write in on the comment section on Facebook. I don't know if YouTube has that option or not, but yes, it does, I hear. And so that was Dr. Hew's View. So today's episode, prep for hurricane season. Every year that there are hurricanes that hit the United States, we are inundated immediately with orders. And we'd love to help. We help FEMA. We help where they're doing humanitarian work. We've helped the United States Navy where they've helped the humanitarian work. It's just we are ready to help in those emergencies, and we're glad to do it. We don't have any issue with that. However, generators are basically insurance. If you haven't figured that out, how can a generator company sell you a portable generator with no hour meter on it and give you a 2-year warranty? Answer: they figure you're not going to run it. You figure you're going to need it. Isn't that how insurance works? You buy insurance. Oh, I'm going to need insurance. My house might catch fire. Well, I've paid house insurance now for almost 40 years, and I've yet to collect a penny from it. So insurance is very good, but it's nice to know you have it. It's called peace of mind. So yeah, today's episode is prep for hurricane season. It's always better if you can get the kit ahead of time. However, we try to, we are excellent about next day airs. People will get next day air kits because the hurricane's heading their way. And we understand that to some degree, and we'll do our best to help you out in those situations. I think I mentioned it already, that comments are always encouraged on our show, because that's what it's all about, is helping you with your situations and your machines as well. So first thing we wanted to go to was, every year we're always curious, what are the predictions for the year? And you go to different sources. However, we went to a couple sources. You'll see it up on the screen there. This is the hurricane season forecast. And maybe my producer can highlight some of the features of that.
Hello, Dr. Hew.
Hi. Tell them about that the graphic you have up there, if you wouldn't
Okay,
mind.
so the latest news. This graphic comes from today. I'm actually not sure the source of the big release. I guess it's the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association, or however you say that. But they did release a forecast, and we've pulled from multiple sources here, just showing 30-year average. Colorado State University has a weather program where they make this prediction annually as well, and of course the Weather Channel prediction. So you can see here that we have prediction of several, Weather Channel predicting 14 named storms during the 2017 season, 7 of which to be hurricanes and 3 predicted to be Category 3 or higher. Of course, these are only predictions, but this is the latest news from the hurricane front, and so we thought we'd share that with our audience today.
Yes, so these are predicted to hit land, make landfall, is that right?
Well, I don't think the predictions go that far. We just have 7 that are predicted to be hurricanes, 3 considered will be projected to be Category 3 or higher hurricanes.
Yeah, and three are bad. We know that. So, all right. So
Dr. Hew, we also have an interesting slide I'll put up where we have the named storms. It's
for the year.
Yeah, this is the lineup.
Well, I know Arlene's already been out there, so Arlene's gone. We should check that one off. I don't know about Brett, but Arlene is already. That was some time ago, weeks ago. So it started early this year, which is surprising. But we have an employee named Arlene, so that was kind of interesting to see. The first one was named after her, which she receives no bonus whatsoever for that. So what are we going to say next about those slides? Let's see. Hurricane season predictions are released. Okay, so what do you, pardon? Oh, look at that. Yeah. Well, I need to read this for a second, though. What do you do to get a propane, or what do you do to get a generator ready for the season? All right. Well, now we know there's several categories of generators that people have. And by the way, anywhere along the line, if you're watching, get a question. We're glad to. Oh, already, yes. Hey, go ahead.
Just what the doctor ordered. As soon as you called for questions, we have a question. And so this question comes from YouTube, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the screen name, but the question is, I have a Champion propane gas generator. Can I use the same connection from the propane to the snorkel kit without using the snorkel? Let me repeat that question here.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Yeah, clarify. Can I do,
It says, can I use the same connection from the propane to the snorkel kit without using the snorkel? Yeah, I'm not sure the question, but maybe you could just generally describe the connection, Dr. Hew, between propane and the generator and the necessity of the snorkel being there.
Sean, are you verifying that? I have my senior tech looking at that too. Okay. Maybe we can come back to that. Maybe I don't even know what to say about that. Love to help, really love to help, but I don't know if he's asking if he can use. I don't know.
Okay, to the question on YouTube, if you could clarify your question a little bit further, we'll revisit it.
We'll come back to it. Yeah, sure.
For now, Dr. Hew is going to carry on with things you should remember or things you should do to get your generator ready for the coming hurricane season.
All right, so there's several categories. As I was mentioning, we have standbys that are people have at their homes that come on automatically when the power goes out and shut down, and exercise. By the way, if we haven't mentioned it before, U.S. Carburation has a special kit that allows any electric start portable generator, and preferably alternative fuel. Gasolines are a lot harder to figure out, and they usually don't like to start half the time anyway. But let's say you have a propane generator, it's electric start, you can make that a true total standby generator for only a few $100. It's really a cool kit, and it'll do the whole thing. It'll do the exercising, starting on its own when the power goes out. It'll wait, it'll run, it'll shut down when it's ready. Oil shutdown if it gets low. It's really a sweet unit for a few $100. So of course I always digress. So if you have a standby generator, the thing I would recommend the most is check the oil level. And if the power is out for any length of time, I personally would shut it down and check the oil every day. Now there's a reason for that. I don't want to go into detail, but these they're actually portables in a box, but the home standby generators, 20 kW and below, that are air cooled, they are notorious for consuming oil. They won't burn it. They won't burn it. You won't smell it. It won't leak, but it's gone. And one day we might visit that topic after we talk to our lawyers. But no, definitely check your oil every day if you run your generator all day. Check it every week if you run it once a week. All right? Let me see. Run every day, yeah, check it every day. If you run it once a week, check it every week. If you run it every month, check it every month. And of course, best thing to do before the season is change your oil. So I have a little checklist here. First thing, check fuel. Now on gasoline, it should have been drained. There's some different thoughts on that. In reality, if you have a gasoline unit, you should run it every month. Fire it up, run it, shut it down. Leave the gasoline in it. It actually can kind of help keep it in better shape than if you didn't didn't drain it, because you leave that film of that sugary fuel and then it builds upon itself. So if you can do it every month, run it. But if you're not going to run it every month and you don't think you will, definitely go ahead and drain the fuel out of the bowl. And a lot of the carburetors have a little screw at the bottom of the float bowl. Make sure you do it safely, outside, all those things. Run a tube to a gas can, drain the fuel out of the float bowl. And now, how do you check the fuel on alternative fuel? Well, you make sure you have grill bottles around, 100-pound cylinders, or if you have a tank at home, just make sure you have plenty of fuel in your home fuel tank. Do not use old fuel. Of course, that's a no-brainer. And so have backup fuel on hand. There will be a rush to the gas lines. That's history. I mean, we actually have pictures, I think, don't we? Yeah. Hey, there's that. I like that. Oh, my hand disappeared. How do I do? Can I get in front of that? No, it's only behind it. So, yes. So you see it, no gas. That's a true picture up north after one of the hurricanes. And the other one there is people standing in line. Is that the one? Yeah, you see all the gas cans. There's one we have. I love it. It's of a sidewalk, and you see all the containers, and it looks like they're carrying suitcases. Like, what are they doing carrying suitcases? But everybody has different sized gas cans. And so, and then we hear stories about people will wait and not have fuel, and then they'll take it out of their car. They'll siphon it, which is always dangerous, unhealthy, of course, because you're going to drink the gas. I mean, you can't help it. So unless you get one of those really nice devices that are electrical or hand pump, but either way, and then people had to evacuate the area and they have no gasoline for their car. So just make sure you have it on hand and safe. I remember talked to a fireman on the phone. He was so proud of himself. A hurricane came, knocked out the power. He ran around and located 50 gallons of gasoline. He had 10 5-gallon cans in his trunk, and he's riding home. He's like, wow, man, he felt good, like, security. And then he realized, wait a minute, I got a bomb in my trunk. It's a Ford Pinto. Oops, I said Ford, but anyway, it's, crash and burn. And he said, and I'm a fireman, for crying out loud. See, sometimes we don't think in emergency situations, so you got to think ahead of time. Have plenty of fuel on hand. Clean fuel. If you're dedicated enough where you can keep rotating your fuel cans, have 6, 8, not 6, 8, whatever you want, outside stored nicely. Rotate them as you use it in your equipment. That's a great thing. Backup fuel on hand. For natural gas, you have all the fuel you need for months if you need to run it. There's never been an issue with that. Other than if there's an earthquake or something, then natural gas possibly could be shut down because of breaking a line, but they're usually great to get it back up because they want you using it. All right, on a gasoline unit, you would check the fuel filter, make sure it looks clean. Most of them are good size now, and if they aren't, get one with a big filter on it. That way you can see clearly how the filter looks, and replace it if you need to. There is no filter on alternative fuel. It's clean, so you don't have to worry about a filter on alternative fuel. Check coolant and oil levels. Of course, that's if you have a water-cooled generator like standby, or some of the portables. There's a few portables with water-cooled engines. Replace and top off as needed. The one thing about alternative fuel is customers will not change the oil because it looks so clean. They may add some to it, leave it in there for years because it looks just as honey gold as when they put it in. I'll tell you what the problem is with that. Look at the refinery process. Oil comes from the same process of the refinery as gasoline, natural gas, propane, diesel fuel, grease. So oil will inevitably be burned up. The light ends of the oil will burn. So the oil will get thicker and thicker and thicker, and it'll be harder to start your generator. Now, some people claim, well, I just keep some zero W30 around and pour that in. It's just best to change the oil. It's the lifeblood of the engine. Usually it's a quart and a half at the most. Get an oil sucker, put it in, throw some in. So yeah, definitely check your oil level, replace or top off as needed. Check air vents to make sure they're clean and free of debris. Now what happens is, you look at it, hey, it looks clean. Air filter assembly, look around, yep, looks clean. Take the cover off and I'll tell you why. Typically, you're going to find mud daubers. Almost anywhere you are in the country, you're familiar with mud daubers. They're the ones that make the little mud pods, which is kind of cool because they pack spiders in there, if you didn't know that. But the mud daubers will find holes and fill them. And so for any machine, look for mud daubers on your machine, especially any holes. Do a walk around of the unit, see if there's any holes in any vents or anywhere. And that's true also of alternative fuel. If you have our KN type regulator, it has these filter vents. I'll show those to you. There's one on each side. You can see the vent there. It's actually threaded, if you notice. So what I recommend anyway you do with that is get yourself some screening like you would use for window screening, and just take a little piece and maybe like a stick and just push it in there and let it stick out. It's not going to hurt. So it can breathe back and forth, and it'll keep the mud daubers out of there. And both sides you'll want to do that. So that's necessary for the back side of this diaphragm to breathe. Air goes in and out of that hole. See? So actually, if you can look through there, you can look through one side to the other. So definitely do that. If you haven't done that already, check it out. They love to fill that hole. All right. No questions yet? Nope. Okay. Visually inspect all hoses, gaskets, etc. It's hard to inspect a gasket, actually, but visually inspect all hoses. And so the biggest things for hoses is squirrels. They love to chew rubber, rats, mice, wiring. It's not mentioned on here, but if you're going to inspect, it's really a true visual inspection. That's what this should have been said. Do a visual inspection. Look for any, like your oil shutdown, if a mouse chews that wire, that'll be a problem. If you knock the wire off by accident, that'll be a problem. So check for any wires that look like they might be damaged, being shorted out, anything like that. Of course, test start your generator before hurricane season. And so you get it up and running, do a load test on it, make sure it's taking a load, and then shut her down. Now, storing your generator. It's best to have it in a place that's clean and dry. Now, some people tend to put them under decks and so forth. That's fine, but if you can put something like between the joists, like a tarp, you can get a small tarp, Harbor Freight or something, screw it up to cover it. But here's the thing you want to watch out for when it comes to storing a unit outside, especially in the summer when it's humid, is the ignition system. If it gets rusty, they tend to run very horrible. And if they're ever in a rainstorm directly, just gets pelted not running, then you may have to do some maintenance on it to get the rust away from the magnets, because all generators are is separating potential, and you need that magnet field to do that. All right, so there's many other steps. We can actually probably come up with something to put on our website to give you more steps on that. But if you have any questions as to anything else you might want to do prior to the season, let us know. Now we're going to go to our customer mailbox. We're done with what to do to get ready for the season. Our customer mailbox can be about many different things. What's it about today, Mr. Producer?
Hey, Dr. Hew. Well, we've got a couple messages from the customer mailbox. What we've done is we're constantly getting questions from multiple channels, email, online chat, telephone. So every day before the show, we go through and we just select a few that we might think are interesting. We do happen to have, I'm going to just put on the screen right now, Dr. Hew, that a testimonial from a customer that had one of Motor Snorkel kits during Hurricane Matthew last year. And he says, I currently have one of your carburetor conversion kits on my Coleman PowerMate, and I currently use it on my natural gas service line when our power is out. This recently occurred during Hurricane Matthew, and your kit was simply awesome.
Wow, I like that. Yes. All right. Yeah, Matthew, that didn't get a lot of press that I remember, but if you do Google Earth and look at what is that right across from the United States there, right across from Florida, the country, island, what is that over there? Anybody know?
Maybe the Dominican Republic or Haiti.
Might be. Either way, all you do is Google Earth to Miami, turn right, and go over there and you'll see no roofs. hardly any roofs over there. That was the result of Matthew. So that's it's a shame what happens during these hurricanes. And we always wish that people would prepare ahead of time so that when that happens and you go back to work on your home, you have some power. All right, we have a live question to add to our mailbox.
We do. This question came in live here. So this is from Xboxer 1985. Actually, yeah, this question was asked on YouTube in the past. I saw that. It says, "Hey Hugh, what about spark plug gap? Should the gap be more than, say, the standard .04, since propane has a higher ignition temperature than gasoline?"
Very good question about spark gap. If at all possible, start off with manufacturer recommended spark gap. That's the default answer. Now, actually, when it comes to alternative fuel, it's best to close the gap more. Now, a few degrees is helpful. If you have a spark tester, you'll see it happen. As you reduce the spark gap, you'll get a brighter, hotter charge. I mentioned on a previous episode about a generator that would not run on gas. Boy, am I backwards. A brand new generator ran on gasoline, ran on propane, but would not run on natural gas. A lot of times you can reduce the gap, which is typically around 32, 35. You can reduce that gap down to 20, and almost always it'll fire. And what happens is it takes a little longer to burn natural gas and propane than it does gasoline before, when the pistons get in the top dead center. So increasing that gap gives you a hotter charge and will ignite the fuel better. So yeah, it's a very good question. Start off with manufactured recommendation. Propane, you can leave it there typically, not have to worry about it. We did that wood splitter episode where we had the wood splitter on propane that outpowered gasoline. That one was never touched. It's factory spec spark plug. But I want to say one other thing about spark plugs while we're on the subject. Spark plugs need to be replaced on alternative fuels at the same schedule as gasoline. You'll pull it out and think, well, this is ridiculous. It looks brand new. Again, it's a couple bucks. And between that and the oil, that's basically the best thing you can do for a few bucks and keep the engine at peak performance. And a good-looking spark plug may not fire very well. It's kind of like blanks in a gun. But I hope that answers that question. Yes.
We have follow-up question from Xboxer, again from YouTube. Mm-hmm. The question is: so would a smaller gap cause hotter exhaust temperatures?
No, that has nothing to do with that. Hotter exhaust temperatures would be if you ran the mixture too rich. So running lean will keep the exhaust temperatures within spec. Actually, propane is lighter in BTU, natural gas is lighter in BTU, and so we can get cooler temperatures actually out of alternative fuel. It does amaze me. People say, oh, you'll lose power on alternative fuel, but then they'll tell you it burns so hot that it'll burn up your motor. So that's part of what we started out with, the debunking internet junk. There's some contradictions there. So yes, tightening up the spark plug, absolutely no effect on exhaust temperatures. If you want to know because every action has a reaction, the only thing it may do is put more, it may work the ignition system a little harder, which the ignition systems are very robust on most good generators, so it's never a problem. We showed that picture, I believe, last episode of our Yamaha that's in our showroom with the 6,800 hours on it. Same ignition system, so it did, and that one was regapped for that unit. So no, absolutely not. Don't worry about that. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, see now before you move that, let me talk about that for a minute. If you're looking at that picture, you'll see that it looks like a piece of junk, but that is still a sweet machine. You'll see though, we cut the frame away. Oop, go back. You switched on me. There you go. You see on the right where we cut the frame away, one of the caps is missing on the bottom, but it we still used it without, I mean, the handles are on that side on the Yamaha, so it was kind of goofy to roll it around because it did, you know, torque a little bit, but it never had a problem. But yeah, you see, it looks like garbage, but it was I converted that thing to propane when it was a pup, and it ran for, now let's see the slide, ta-da, ta-da, 6,753 hours and 1/2. Can you imagine that? Now, in the forklift industry, when we used to do alternative fuels, and keep that number there, please, we would do like 35 miles per hour as an equivalent to an automobile. So if you had an hour on the hour meter on your forklift, it's like as if you had 35 miles on the odometer on your car, okay? So stick with me here. It's kind of like dog years. So when you get down to a one-cylinder engine, using basic logic and, you know, some wisdom maybe, it really equates to about 70 miles per hour. Every hour you run your engine, it's like driving your car 70 hours. So I don't know the math real quick. Maybe somebody could do it, but if you take 6,753 hours and times it by 70, I know 42 is in the beginning somehow, but it's probably around 46, 47, 48, I don't know. Oh, yeah. You got a number? Yeah, it can't be. They're going to add it up. $472,710 miles equivalent. Isn't that sweet? And it's still a good machine. So absolutely. I don't know what I was talking about when I brought that up, but it does show that the longevity is definitely there. What was I talking about anyway? Somebody's going to have to keep up with this. I can't. I need to see a doctor.
Well, we're gonna go back to the customer mailbox, Dr.
All right,
Hew.
let's go back.
We actually did have some helpful viewers there. Xboxer, he tabulated up the mileage for us as well,
cool.
so thank you for that, sir. He also mentions that he has posted some videos with the snorkel using the snorkel on a Yamaha EF2000 with stock spark plug gap, and there's no power loss on gas or propane. Good
Cool.
stuff, he says.
Hey, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome that we take care of each other like that. So, yeah.
So we're going to go back to the customer mailbox.
All right,
This one, this question came in via web chat, I think yesterday. So the question is natural gas cheaper to run than gasoline? And so what do you think, Dr. Hew?
All right. Now here's where we get back to calculations, and if you on our website, if you look on there, a lot of this is on there. But natural gas, on average, is 1,000 BTU per cubic foot. All right. So to work out the equivalent, you can go anywhere from 80 to 90,000 BTU for the equivalent use per hour, compared to propane, which is 92,000, gasoline's 110,000 BTU per. So, is it cheaper to run natural gas? The quick answer, absolutely. Usually it's almost a third the price, which is really an awesome thing. You're saving your machine, you're getting unlimited fuel supply, and you're saving two-thirds of your money. So, oh man, I wish I knew this question was coming, because I used to know the numbers in my head, but my head ain't like it used to be. The cost per, I'm trying to remember how I used to tell people this. If you use a gallon of gasoline per hour at $3 a gallon, and let's just say you lose power, which you don't, but we'll say you buy propane at $2 a gallon, 10% more, it's going to cost you $2.20 per gallon per hour. So there you go, you save some there. But natural gas equivalency works out to about $1.20 or $1.10, so it's almost a third the price. So absolutely, natural gas is, if you have the option, absolutely, natural gas is the way to go. You will save money. And if you want to pass on some of the savings to us, we love to share in your joy of saving. Anything else in our mailbox?
Okay, last question from the mailbox, Dr. Hew. The question is, do I have to drain gasoline from the carburetor before I can run on propane?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay, if I was going to do it, which I've done it before personally, all right, I'm going to go from gasoline to propane. What I would do is hook up my propane, get it all ready. I'd run my load block, calibrator all the way in to basically the off position. Fire up the gasoline generator and let it run, let it run, let it run. What's going to happen after a period of time, and you don't want to load on it, just at idle speed. I mean, not at idle, but at no load speed. Let it run. As it's running, you'll start to notice the engine, degradation. You'll hear some change. So you start opening the load block. So as the RPM start to drop, especially if you have a tachometer, you'll see the tach dropping. You see the tachometer dropping, start opening the load block. You'll see the RPMs pick back up. The governor will keep it at 3,600, and then they'll start dropping again. You open a little more, drop again, open a little more, drop again, open a little more. Before long, you'll get to a point where you're opening it more, and it's actually causing a negative effect on the machine. That means, okay, you're out of gasoline. But in reality, you're only out of liquid gasoline in the bowl. You still have some vapor residuals left over. So continue to be ready to make adjustments, typically another minute or two to make sure all the vapors are done. And of course, you already have your gas tank turned off, so there's no more, nothing else coming in that direction. And so from then, you can just keep running on alternative fuel. So yes, definitely do that. Well, if there's no other questions from the audience, it's been great to be here again with you folks, and we appreciate you watching. Our CSRs are always standing by. CSR, customer service rep. We are all about customer service. That's, we sell nothing but service. That's I always love that motto, and we do our absolute best to take care of customers. I don't know why people find it necessary to say negative things like, we're evil, we're bad. Just like restock fees. One of the employees here the other day ordered a battery for his laptop, and he ordered the wrong one by mistake, and he goes, man, I hate to be on the other end of a restock fee. He said, but I screwed up. I ordered the wrong battery, so it's only right. Which I thought was very admirable, but some people try to work their way out of that. So anyway, it costs money to have these people work here. We don't want to send the whole operation to China. We'd like to keep it here and keep our U.S. employees making our U.S. product. And, we got something before we go.
This is a late-breaking question.
Late-breaking news.
And this is a follow-up. I guess actually it's not late-breaking. We just kind of overlooked it. So the fellow that was asking the question before about the spark plug gap.
I'd like to get to that, yeah.
Yeah, he was saying he also, I guess he has a couple of different generators. He's running his spark plug gaps at 0.04 and no issues so far on one of his generators. But he has a Generac 7000 EXL, and he does see a D-rate of wattage. And he gives an example, say 6,000 6K max output before the speed goes below 57 hertz. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you have any. Maybe it's not really a question. Maybe some comments there.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many, how old it is, how many hours are on it, and that brings up another great thought when it comes to valve lash, especially on the larger engines. For instance. The Yamaha 12,000s that they're notorious for it. The Generac, the two-barrel Generacs 12,000, 15K. check the valve lash if you have over 50 to 100 hours on it. It's not a bad idea anyway. We have seen customers will bring us generators, they're not running. We'll go to crank it a few times and we can hear it. I mean, if you do it enough, you can tell, all right, valves are out. Sometimes they're slapping. It's like, oof. But you check your valve lash. Of course, you start by doing a compression check. If the compression check's good, then you don't have to worry about the valves. But if you're find your base compression, it's like the best thing you can ever do is when you first get a machine and you fire it up, run it, break it in, and then do a compression check on it. Now you'll have a baseline for your machine instead of just hunting the internet and finding out everybody's incorrect information. You'll know, okay, my machine had a 118 PSI when I got it. So, a couple years later, you're having issues, you do a compression check, you're down to 70, 60, 50. You readjust the valves and bingo. I wish my senior tech, he worked on one. It was like down to 10 or something. It was just absolutely insane. And he brought it all the way back to what? 120, yeah. And it performed like a brand new one. So yeah, as a matter of fact, that Yamaha that we showed the picture of with the 67,000 hours, when I did an episode, there's an episode on YouTube showing that one at like 20 some or 3,000 hours or something. That was only a couple of years ago. The people who had it, I bought it back from them just out of nostalgia, but the people who had it, they use it all the time, like day after day after day after day. So but yeah, compression, valve lash. I wish I could see a copy of those questions because I could probably be more succinct in my answers because that is a long question, but it's a 7,000. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, he says the unit was a Generac 7000 EXL, and he says he's not sure how many hours, but it's probably 8 years old. Lower hours, but no meter, and he does have his valve lash set at 0.004, and compression was about 110 with a dry test.
That's pretty good. Now, my concern too, he's on a propane, and of course with propane, we have to make sure we use older cylinders. He said propane, right?
Yeah, I think this fella, he seems pretty knowledgeable. He's running on propane, natural gas. I think he's running on everything. So
running on empty, running wild. Yes. So I'd be curious if he's tried different fuel tanks, because purging is an issue. Customers buy the kits to put them on a brand new grill bottle and it won't run. But or if you're using cylinder exchange, like you probably heard me say this before, look for the junkiest bottle. Looks like somebody's dropped it off their truck and it rolled down the road. Don't get a dented one, of course, but you know what I'm saying. Look for one that's been filled multiple times. It's been purged, and you know that all the air's out of it, and that can be an issue. An air fuel mixture in with an air fuel mixture will give you that problem as well. But some machines just don't. I think that 7000 that had the 420 cc. I think. I don't think it has the 389. I think it has the 420. But you can have two machines right out of the box. We've had it here for years, where one will act a little differently than the other, and so not blaming it on that. But sometimes it's inherent in the machine itself. But if you do the basics, we can revisit that if you can reply about the cylinders that he's using. Clean propane. That's the other thing I wanted to mention about alternative fuel, like natural gas. People say you'll lose power on natural gas. How do we know that the natural gas that we're getting doesn't have more butane in it or propane in it, and it's over 1,000 BTU per cubic foot? There's supposed to be a minimum like 1,000 BTU, but it could be more. And the propane we get, instead of flaring off the butane that's too much in the system, they'll add the butane to the propane. Why waste it? So now we have propane, instead of being 92,000 BTU, it's 98,000 or 99. So it can be true. Yes.
All right, so our viewer has confirmed that he's using a 100-pound cylinder, and it is new, so he says purging may make sense.
Thank you. Glad you were honest about that. Yeah, you can get by with it initially on a 100-pound cylinder a lot of times because you have a higher mix of. You have more gas to work with. So, in your case, if at all possible, try to use that up. There's no other way. You cannot say, well, I'll drain out some of it and then refill it. It's just a waste. If you can get that tank down to nearly empty and refill it, you'll probably be fine after that. But as a test, find yourself a nasty old 20-pound cylinder, throw it on there, and that'll verify the issue. But thank you for being honest about that. We had customers will usually not tell us that. You'll say, "Is this a new tank, sir?" No. I've had this tank for years. I had one gentleman who would not cooperate. I even asked him, what the guy look like who purged your tank? And he finally admitted it was a brand new camper and he had never purged the cylinders. And of course, if it's a vacuum purged cylinders, that is not good. They don't work for alternative fuel. I was talking to somebody the other day in the shop, the front office, and he was telling about how his bottle, he put it on his grill, and one side basically had no flame. The other side, the flame was off the burner like a ½ inch. See, that's the blowtorch effect. It'll run a grill to some degree, but you put that same tank on a generator that has an engine. See, now it won't work because you're adding an air-fuel mixture to an air-fuel mixture. And so the window of flammability is tight, so you can't just add too lean of fuel and then expect to richen the setting far enough to get it to operate. So very good. I hope you find the answer to that, and I'd love to hear back from you. If you can send them, that'd be a good thing to add. Is if I'd like to hear, like, hey, it worked or whatever, and maybe they can send it to the CSRs or follow up with that. I'd love to hear what. I always wonder sometimes, if you really did help somebody.
Maybe they could send a family picture in with their alternative fuel-powered generator.
I think that's why doctors, real doctors, I'm not a real doctor, I just play one on the internet, but maybe that's why doctors always want you in for a follow-up just to make sure that their information didn't kill you. So, never mind. You get in trouble for everything you say around here. So, all right. That clears out the mailbox, and so we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again for watching. We're still doing it Tuesday, Thursdays at 2, which I like to say TT at 2. TT at 2. Tuesday, Thursdays at 2, live to answer your questions. Tell your friends, hey, you got a question about generator or alternative fuel? I'd love to answer them the best I can. I don't know everything. I try to convince my wife I do, but she don't. Oh, hey, I like that little thing on the screen. Like and share. If you could, please like and share us, or share and like us on Facebook or Facetube or Ubook, whatever they call it today. It'll probably be ones, just like UPS and Federal Express. They said we're going to join and become fed up, but that never happened. So we hope you can come back next time. Of course, our phone number is going to appear, and I'm going to quit saying that's cute and funny, but I do like the way that pops up there. And it usually takes about a minute or two once I say it. Here we go. Oh, and there's our phone number, 1-800-553-5608. There is no special acronym for that. Hey, and people can call from Canada, right? Yeah, in Canada. Our 800 number in Canada is kind of cool. It's 1-800-GUN 0077. That's GUN 0077. But don't use it in the U.S. You can use the other 800 number. But I don't know if it matters anymore or not. It used to matter. Only Canada you could use the other one. So in our website, you can always email a question, and we will be glad to respond as soon as possible. So again, we thank you for watching. It's always great to be together on Facebook and YouTube live, and we invite you back again Tuesday. And this has been Dr. Hew from the U.S. Carburation Clinic.